Wz2542 listening area are normally conducted on Wednesdays between 11 a.m. and noon. During periods of severe weather, warnings and statements will replace normal programming. Affected area: Wausau, McMullen, Live Oak, B, Webb, Duvall, and Jim Wells. Timing: until 10 p.m. this evening. Winds: southeast 15 to 25 miles per hour with gusts up to 35 miles per hour. Relative humidity as low as 14%. Temperatures up to 82. Impacts: any fires that develop will likely spread rapidly. Outdoor burning is not recommended. A red flag warning means that critical fire weather conditions are either occurring now or will shortly. A combination of strong winds, low relative humidity, and warm temperatures can contribute to extreme fire behavior. Residents are urged to exercise care with respect to all outdoor activities that could inadvertently cause wildfires. Report wildfires quickly to the nearest fire department or law enforcement office. Small craft advisory in effect from 1 a.m. Tuesday to 7 a.m. Central Daylight Time Wednesday. What? South winds 15 to 25 knots with gusts up to 35 knots and seas 7 to 10 feet expected. Where? Baton Bay and Upper Laguna, Monterey, Corpus Christi and New Aces Bays, Copano, Aransas, and Redfish Bays, San Antonio, Mesquite, and Espiritu Santo Bays. Coastal waters from Baton Bay to Port Aransas out 20 nautical miles. Coastal waters from Port Aransas to Matagorda Ship Channel out 20 nautical miles. Waters from Baton Bay to Port Aransas from 20 to 60 nautical miles, and waters from Port Aransas to Matagorda Ship Channel from 20 to 60 nautical miles. When? From 1 a.m. Tuesday to 7 a.m. Central Daylight Time Wednesday. Impacts: strong to very strong winds and flash or increased seas will result in hazardous marine conditions, especially for inexperienced mariners with smaller vessels. Inexperienced mariners, especially those operating smaller vessels, should avoid navigating in hazardous conditions. The current time is 8:48 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Here is the 8 p.m. Marine Roundup for the coastal bend. The following data are raw and unverified. At Ingleside, the air temperature was 69 degrees. The water temperature was 69 degrees. Winds were out of the southeast at 19 knots, with gusts as high as 23 knots. The water level was 0.52 feet below mean sea level. At Packery Channel, the air temperature was 69 degrees. The water temperature was 71 degrees. Winds were out of the southeast at 13 knots, with gusts as high as 18 knots. The water level was 0.47 feet below mean sea level. At Port Aransas Ferry Landing, the air temperature was 68 degrees. The water temperature was 68 degrees. Winds were out of the southeast at 10 knots, with gusts as high as 16 knots. The water level was 0.70 feet below mean sea level. At Bird Island, the air temperature was 68 degrees. The water temperature was 70 degrees. Winds were out of the east at 15 knots, with gusts as high as 17 knots. The water level was 0.34 feet below mean sea level. At Baton Bay, the air temperature was 68 degrees. The water temperature was 73 degrees. Winds were out of the southeast at 15 knots, with gusts as high as 21 knots. The water level was 0.57 feet below mean sea level. At Rockport, the air temperature was 69 degrees. The water temperature was 71 degrees. Winds were out of the southeast at 14 knots, with gusts as high as 22 knots. The water level was 0.34 feet below mean sea level. At Seadrift, the air temperature was 69 degrees. The water temperature was 71 degrees. Winds were out of the southeast at 13 knots, with gusts as high as 17 knots. The water level was 0.31 feet below mean sea level. At Port O'Connor, the air temperature was 68 degrees. The water temperature was 72 degrees. Winds were out of the southeast at 14 knots, with gusts as high as 16 knots. The water level was 0.53 feet below mean sea level. Here are the 8 p.m. South Texas weather observations. The report from Kingsville was not available. Across the area, Alice, partly cloudy. Temperature 73 degrees. Falfurrias, partly cloudy. Temperature 76 degrees. The report from Hebbronville was not available. Brownsville, clear. Temperature 73 degrees. Laredo, clear. Temperature 83 degrees. Cotulla, clear. Temperature 85 degrees. San Antonio, mostly cloudy. Temperature 79 degrees. Victoria, clear. 68 degrees. At Port Aransas, winds were southeast at 70 knots. Air temperature 68 degrees. At buoy 42,019, winds were south at 14 knots. Sea temperature 67 degrees. Air temperature 71 degrees. At buoy 42,020, winds were southeast at 14 knots. Air temperature 69 degrees. The forecast for the Kingsville area. Rest of tonight, partly cloudy. Not as cool with lows in the upper 50s. Southeast winds 15 to 20 miles an hour, becoming south 10 to 15 miles an hour. Tuesday, sunny, breezy with highs in the upper 80s. South winds 20 to 25 miles an hour with gusts up to 35 miles an hour. Tuesday night, mostly clear in the evening, then becoming partly cloudy. Breezy with lows in the lower 60s. Southeast winds 20 to 25 miles an hour, becoming south 15 to 20 miles an hour after midnight. Wednesday, partly cloudy in the morning, then clearing. Less humid with highs in the upper 80s. West winds 10 to 15 miles an hour, increasing to north 15 to 20 miles an hour in the afternoon. Wednesday night, partly cloudy in the evening, then becoming mostly clear. Cooler with lows around 50. North winds 10 to 15 miles an hour with gusts up to 25 miles an hour. Here is the synopsis for the Middle Texas coastal waters. A south-southeasterly fresh to strong breeze BF5/6 with small craft. Advisory conditions will develop this evening with seas increasing from 3 to 4 feet to 5 to 7 feet. A strong breeze to near gale winds BF6 and 7 are expected Tuesday into Tuesday night. Winds on Wednesday will briefly decrease to a gentle breeze BF3 and veer northward Wednesday morning and afternoon in the wake of our next cold front. Winds are then expected to strengthen once again to a strong breeze to near gale winds BF6 and 7 overnight on Wednesday, with a gentle to moderate onshore breeze returning late Thursday. The marine forecast for the bay waters from Baton Bay to Port Aransas. Small craft advisory in effect from 1 a.m. Central Daylight Time Tuesday through Wednesday morning. Tonight, south winds 15 to 20 knots with gusts up to 30 knots. Bay and inland waters choppy. Tuesday, south winds 20 to 25 knots with gusts up to 35 knots. Bay and inland waters choppy to occasionally rough. Tuesday night, south winds 20 to 25 knots with gusts up to 35 knots. Bay and inland waters choppy to occasionally rough. Wednesday, west winds 10 to 15 knots, becoming north in the afternoon. Bay and inland waters slightly choppy to occasionally choppy. The marine forecast for the bay waters from Baton Bay to Port O'Connor. Small craft advisory in effect from 1 a.m. Central Daylight Time Tuesday through Wednesday morning. Tonight, south winds 10 to 15 knots, increasing to 15 to 20 knots late. Bay and inland waters choppy. Tuesday, south winds 15 to 20 knots with gusts up to 30 knots. Bay and inland waters choppy. Tuesday night, south winds 15 to 20 knots with gusts up to 30 knots. Bay and inland waters choppy. Wednesday, west winds 10 to 15 knots with gusts up to 20 knots, becoming northwest in the afternoon. Bay and inland waters slightly choppy to occasionally choppy. The marine forecast for the coastal waters of Baton Bay to Port Aransas out to 20 nautical miles. Small craft advisory in winds 15 to 20 knots with gusts up to 25 knots. Seas 3 to 4 feet, occasionally to 5 feet, building to 4 to 6 feet, occasionally to 8 feet after midnight. Wave detail, southeast 4 feet at 5 seconds and southeast 1 foot at 8 seconds, becoming southeast 6 feet at 6 seconds. Tuesday, south winds 20 to 25 knots with gusts up to 30 knots. Seas 5 to 7 feet, occasionally to 9 feet. Wave detail, southeast 7 feet at 7 seconds. Tuesday night, south winds 20 to 25 knots with gusts up to 30 knots. Seas 6 to 8 feet, occasionally to 10 feet. Wave detail, southeast 8 feet at 7 seconds. Wednesday, west winds 15 to 20 knots, becoming north 5 to 10 knots in the afternoon. Seas 5 to 7 feet, occasionally to 9 feet, subsiding to 3 to 5 feet, occasionally to 6 feet in the afternoon. Wave detail, southeast 6 feet at 8 seconds, becoming southeast 5 feet at 7 seconds. The marine forecast for the coastal waters of Port Aransas, schematic or the ship channel out to 20 nautical miles. Small craft advisory in effect from 1 a.m. Central Daylight Time Tuesday through Wednesday morning. Tonight, south winds 10 to 15 knots, increasing to 15 to 20 knots after midnight. Seas 3 to 4 feet, occasionally to 5 feet, building to 4 to 6 feet, occasionally to 8 feet after midnight. Wave detail, southeast 4 feet at 5 seconds and southeast 2 feet at 8 seconds, becoming southeast 6 feet at 6 seconds. Tuesday, south winds around 20 knots with gusts up to 30 knots. Seas 5 to 7 feet, occasionally to 9 feet. Wave detail, south 7 feet at 7 seconds. Tuesday night, south winds 20 to 25 knots with gusts up to 30 knots. Seas 6 to 8 feet, occasionally to 10 feet. Wave detail, south 8 feet at 8 seconds. Wednesday, west winds 15 to 20 knots, becoming northwest 5 to 10 knots in the afternoon. Seas 5 to 7 feet, occasionally to 9 feet, subsiding to 3 to 5 feet, occasionally to 6 feet in the afternoon. Wave detail, southeast 7 feet at 8 seconds, becoming southeast 5 feet at 8 seconds. The marine forecast for the coastal waters from Baton Bay to the Matagorda ship channel out to 60 nautical miles. Small craft advisory in effect from 1 a.m. Central Daylight Time Tuesday through Wednesday morning. Tonight, south winds 15 to 20 knots. Seas 3 to 4 feet, occasionally to 5 feet, building to 5 to 7 feet, occasionally to 9 feet after midnight. Wave detail, south 4 feet at 5 seconds and southeast 2 feet at 8 seconds, becoming southeast 7 feet at 8 seconds and southeast 5 feet at 5 seconds. Tuesday, south winds 20 to 25 knots with gusts up to 30 knots. Seas 6 to 8 feet, occasionally